Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. Welcome aboard, E2247. Welcome aboard, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard. We also have Parvet. Whoa, a lot of stuff, E2247. AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you guys for being here. And as we wait for more people to show up, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so kindly for being here. Of course, in the house, as usual, is the one and only Bridge MCP. How are you doing, Bridge? Great to have you here as I try to get all these strings connected because, you know, when it's just one person operating, what happens is that you get all these things that you have to do all at once. Anyway, great to have you here. We are going to have a great show for you today. Lee Grant is in the house from Conroe, Texas. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Thank you guys for being here. Let's see. What is brother E2247 talking about? Day 164 since the 7th. He's talking about Israel and what's going on in Gaza. Thank you for keeping that in the front of our minds. Radin says, Egberto, you should probably read out E22's post in full. Some heartbreaking stuff there. I am going to leave that to folks to read it before I have to take care of some business as I play some tape here. But I mean, it is sad. He prints those important bits of information all of the time. Let me read a few. Day 164 since 7 October 2023 is equal at least 31,726 Palestinians killed, 81 persons greater than day 163, at least 73,792 wounded, 116 greater day 162, 105, 518 casualties. That's a shame. 105, 518 casualty is equal to 643 per day of estimated 5.385 million people, or 1.96% of the West Bank and Gaza Palestinian population, with 31,726 Palestinians killed, equal 195 per day kill. Were us to be in a situation of Palestine now, 164 days into the demonic genocide by Israel, U.S. would now have a proportional killed and injured total of 6,587,474. Thank you for those numbers, E2247. You're so right about it. And thank you for Michael Rudden for kind of inching me to read them, because I was going to leave that up to everybody to read, but I think it's even better as it is spoken out there for the people that are listening on podcasts. Thank you so kindly for coming up with those numbers. Biden is violating the Foreign Assistance Act that bars foreign military support to states, restricting delivery of humanitarian aid. Democratic senators sent him a new letter last week on that, and he won't change. He won't change. This is an old man with old values, where the patriarchy did something, decided what countries would be, et cetera, in operation. Like I told my audience this morning, while I will be voting full Democratic, I am not voting for Biden the person, because I do believe he is also now an accomplice of Benjamin Netanyahu. But I'm voting in the better interest of us all. I'm going to make that case a little bit on as we get closer to the election. We simply screwed ourselves in the choices that we've had. All of us have screwed ourselves in the choices that we've had. All right, let's see. Lee Grant says Trump was just being metaphorical and typically bombastic with his bloodbath remark. He wasn't talking about real blood. Yes, he was talking about real bloodbath. If you take a look at what he said he's going to do also, he's going to release the felons that got arrested for the insurrection in Washington, D.C. He's telling folks that there will be mayhem if he's elected. This is not the first time he's used language like this. In fact, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the piece that I did on exactly I'm going to play the piece that I did exactly on that I want you to listen. I want you to see the what I did with calling networks. The way networks work is a lot of packetized data is just shoot over the network in a wild fashion. But the software knows how to take out the pieces that corresponds to each computer on a network. That is what Donald Trump does. He talks a lot of gibberish. He talks a whole lot of line, and each computer in the network, meaning each sect of MAGA, knows exactly what to do. I want you guys to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me go ahead and cue that up. We'll take it on the other side. As you know, earlier, Trump did a rally where he uses the word bloodbath or something like that, and they came out and said, "Oh, he wasn't talking about this. He was only talking about about the car deals or the bringing in import cars, etc." But that's not what it is. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side, because there is an explanation that I use a software protocol to define later on. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Former president made this ominous comment.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars.
The Trump campaign tried to clarify, saying he was talking about the auto industry. But the Biden campaign seized on the comments, saying Mr. Trump is doubling down on his threats of political violence.
Anybody who thinks Donald Trump was speaking about, oh, cars, when he used the word, it's going to be a bloodbath if I don't get elected, just doesn't understand how this guy works. And then, I mean, he's just following the autocratic playbook. He's putting certain phrases into the ethos. He's actually doing that subliminal commendation of people. When he says it's going to be a bloodbath and that's going to be least of it, and then he interfaces that with statements on cars on the left and statements on cars on the right. You know, in programming software, in programming protocols, we had a protocol called the Modbus protocol, right? And we had it running on top of some other protocols and software. What we would do is we'll send a whole string of message, and that message look like it's, you know, it is just mixed up with a whole bunch of stuff, right? And then we have the software that goes ahead and selectively picks out the message that it needs. So you have this stream of data coming over. It looks like a whole bunch of gobbledygook, but in reality, in that one big stream of data, there may be data for a clock. There may be data for that have numerical data in there. There may be data for time stamping. There may be data for all these things, and they're all framed, right? And you have your software that goes in, and that whole stream is passing in front of him, and this software takes out just what it needs. This other piece of software takes out just what it's need as that stream of data goes along. That is how Donald Trump speaks. An incoherent mess of data, of words, of which every sect within his MAGA folks, they select the pieces that they are armed for. So when he talk about it's going to be a bloodbath, the militia folks see the things. When he talks about putting on tariffs on cars that nobody will be able to sell cars here, the sycophants or the particular group of folks that don't understand economics, that triggers them. So within that mass of gobbledygook that he puts out there, every segment within his MAGA population gets to extract the piece that touches them. You know, when he goes out and talk about replacement theories and all these kinds of things, realize what they're doing. They are building a coalition in an organic manner, whereas Democrats have coalitions that they talk about. We bring in this identity, that identity, and then we try to create our message that blend all of this together. They don't attempt to do any kind of blending. They use the mud bus protocol. Well, not the mud bus, because the mud bus has some other features to it, but they use a protocol where you just go ahead and give data, and everybody of a particular sect that call themselves MAGA just extract that piece that corresponds to them, and they don't have to coexist. That's why you could have a black gay MAGA guy who, things would work fine if he hadn't gone to this white supremacist rally or whatever he went to, and then they started to use racial slurs and gay slurs on him. Well, he thought he was MAGA, and he is MAGA, because the way Donald Trump arranges MAGA is all these MAGAs don't sit down and talk policy. They extract what they want from the MAGA movement, and that is what we have to understand. Whereas we look for coherency, we look for stickiness, that we all come together of different identities, different cultures, etc., and coexist because we can have a common existence. They don't care about common existence even within the MAGA thing.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
All right, so folks, so that's what I'm trying to say now. People talk about Trump, he really meant this, he really meant that. No, he meant exactly what he says. Trump doesn't speak coherently. He does not speak coherently. He lets out a lot of trigger words, and it triggers whomever it needs to trigger in his in his MAGA following. That is how internet protocols work. All right, you extract just what you need. So no, Mr. Lee Grant, it's not metaphorical and typically bombastic. He means it. If he doesn't lose, he wants a massacre. He wants a bloodbath. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Period. Punto y final. Michael Ronan said, Mike, see, we need to airdrop and ship so much food and medicine that hoarding won't make an impact. Just so now, if Hamas really was hoarding food, they're going to lose the propaganda war as Palestinian support would collapse. They can't. Look, it's a closed jail. What does hoarding food means in a closed jail? Absolutely nothing. There's not like some form of money that one can bank. You know, I mean, some of the comments that come out about what is happening in the genocide in Israel is it just boggles the mind how easily so many would listen to the misinformation that is based on nothing but junk and think it means something. All right. Eric says, arrested, not prosecuted. What about all the criminals once let go in 2020? We're talking about people who attempted an insurrection. They attempted to overthrow a constitutional government. We're not talking about crimes. We're talking about a constitutional government. And anybody who claims to believe in conservatism and the Constitution and etc., you should be appalled. Paul Fleming says, extending Trump's tax cuts will cost $3.5 trillion over a decade. This is why Trump wants to cut Social Security, so he can take a lifetime of earned benefits away from people and gift it to the rich. And we have a reverse Robin Hood. We have to remember the tax cut that Donald Trump gave was permanent for rich people, but temporary for the average middle class Americans. You see, they don't care about you. They just know that they can put pretty things in front of their people, and you believe. brothers and sisters, that's why I'm glad I get my MAGA listeners and conservative listeners and liberal listeners and progressive listeners, because we can all get to tell the truth. And for some, while you may not like it, at least you get a chance to hear it here. All right, Michael Rodden says, so Trump's bloodbath speech was about Mexico taking car manufacturing jobs, but that doesn't exclude Trump's pattern of calling for violence when he loses. No, I want you to listen to that piece again. He talks about cars. He switched subject. It wasn't a continuation. He switches subjects. If I don't win, it will be a bloodbath. And that is just the beginning of it. And that's not even, or something to that effect. It was a switch in conversation. So it was car, violence, and car again. That's how we packetize stuff on networks, right? When we are sending data to different computers, we will send computer one. If there's data coming and it needs to go to different computers, you packetize the data in computer. It's one line, meaning Trump's mouth, one line. You put computer data one here, computer data two here, computer data three, computer one, and each computer gets all the stream, and they extract what belongs to them. Donald Trump doesn't speak coherently, nor in sentences, nor in subjects. He just spews stuff for people to hear and extract what they need. Those of you that are listening to me here, you need to when people talk about his coherent speech, call it the networking speech, and that the network protocol speech. It has value, and it's how people register it. Everybody gets a chance to extract what they need out of that group of nonsensical crap that is all over the place, that doesn't even have to have intersectionality. That's Donald Trump for you. And that's the magic in bringing a whole family of low information folks, because you can do that. Now, there are two groups of folks that are MAGA: the low information folks, and then those people who are using the low information folks because the MAGA methodology makes them rich. Understand that. Not all MAGA are low information, but most low information are MAGA. All right? Because if you are high information, you use MAGA to make a profit for yourself. If you're high information, some as well, MAGA can be toxic to you because you have a heart. Okay? Let's remember that. All right. That was lesson number 3 for today. All right, let's see what else I got to read here. Michael says, Lee Grant ignoring how many police officers were injured by January 6th insurrectionists, as if we couldn't see the videos of what happened that day. Again, it was an insurrection. Look, okay, all my people in the chat who understands, who know for a fact that what occurred on January 6th was an insurrection, I want you to stop engaging anybody who is trying to make an excuse and making it not an insurrection. Love on our brothers and sisters, but don't open the discussion as to whether January 6th was an insurrection or not. January 6th was an attempted coup of the United States. Punto y final. Do not argue the point. That's not what it's all about. We are arguing what needs to be done. Do not get into the discussion about whether it was an insurrection or not. It was. Don't get into that discussion. All right, let's continue. Eric K says fewer drivers are interested in electric vehicles today than ever before, according to a new survey. This is further confirmed by Hertz' recent announcement that it's selling 20,000 electric cars in its fleet. The most obvious reason: the consumer disenchantment in the hassle of charging EVs. Yeah, I agree. There's a hassle in charging EVs, but you should not be rejoicing that because of infrastructure issues, we are not getting not getting this stuff done, the infrastructure done properly. So I want you guys. So Mr. Let me see if I can get this right. It is important. It is important that we not get fooled. But I tell you what, I need right now to go ahead and play our video on Katie Fang, okay? And then we'll take it on the other side, because I have to go check up on my wife, who's back in a hospital, and I have some information that my daughter is about to send me. So let's play this video, and then we'll come back to the subject. I have been rather perturbed about the Fani Willis, Nathan Wade saga, right? Yes, they came up with this RICO case against the president, and the president henchmen went ahead to investigate to find out that after all, Fani Willis was having a romantic relationship with Nathan Wade. And then they try to make it into something that it wasn't. Somehow there is profit for Nathan Wade by prosecuting the former president, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these are things that happen all the times. Prosecutors hire contractors. They all make the same thing, as was the case here in this county, in the Fulton County. But what's upsetting is it's the what's not said, the connotation that people try to make with Fani Willis, as if they try to demonize her, make her less than, make her seem slutty, etc. And sadly, a lot of that has to do with using the stereotypes of black women that has always been false. And that's what they did there. They try to build up on these particular stereotypes. Now, the fact of the matter is, I've worked in corporate America for several years, and the issue with Nathan Wade and Fani Willis is a constancy. The issue with boss and subordinate having relationships, it's standard. I worked at NASA, I worked at Ford, I worked at all these places, and I could tell of this happening all of the times. Not that it's right or wrong, but that it just happens. But the media is running with it, and the media helped Trump and his people make it a story that wasn't. In fact, even the judge fell for it. The judge that should know better fell for it. He could have opened the case if he needed to and closed it right away. No evidence. There was nothing in that case that would have proven that Fani Willis, maybe it doesn't look good to some people, but did anything wrong. And I'm not defending this woman because she's a Democrat or she's going after Trump. I'm defending this woman because of a double standard. The person being on trial here is a horrendous person in Donald Trump. And when Fani Willis went out there and said that, remember, she's not on trial. There are people who attempted to overthrow the United States of America that's on trial. There is this guy who tries to throw a morality bomb on Fani Willis when he himself is, what again? The daddy of several baby mamas. He's a thief. He does all the things that they would try to put onto Fani Willis. He is guilty of. And many in his ilk as well on trial. And yet the media makes it seem like the folks that we should be concentrating on is Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. It is great that Katie Fang, just point blank, comes out and says just as much. This judge should have not gotten there at all. Listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I love Paul Butler, and because I love him, I'm going to disagree with him in the following way, and with respect, because I always disagree with respect. There was zero evidence that Fani Willis did anything wrong. No evidence, right? Judge McAfee said there was no material financial benefit that was realized by Fani Willis. He said that there was no conflict of interest because she never started this investigation and prosecution and indictment to benefit herself. He made it clear that there was nothing wrong that she did. That in and of itself could have ceased the analysis, and that could have been the end of it. It didn't have to go any further. What is the hypocrisy that really bothers me is this purity test that has to be applied to everyone else but the Republicans. It's this purity test that you have to pass if you are not a member of the GOP. And to that point, it's Letitia James and Fani Willis that are always the ones that get more scrutiny because of who they are. But if you're a Republican, it's okay because you can grab them by the you-know-what and get away with it.
Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, Paul Butler, cried, screamed, had a breakdown in front of the world, and no one questioned whether his comportment in that hearing meant he was unfit to be on the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito have taken what really look like bribes from billionaires to take them on fancy schmancy vacations. They sit on cases in which they shouldn't. His wife is an insurrectionist. He didn't feel he had to recuse. No one says these men made mistakes. And so I lovingly disagree with you as well. What mistake did she make? The people meet on the job all the time. They date people on the job all the time. This is not an unusual thing. Is it the best decision? I don't know. It didn't seem like it worked out very well. This is like he was the right man for her, whatever. But that has nothing to do with the RICO case, sir. And I'm like,
so let's be clear, folks. You can try to put these types of stereotypes onto people. You can do all of this, but the reality remains that it is Donald Trump and his ilk on trial. The reality remains that nothing Fani Willis and Nathan Wade did isn't something that is modus operandi throughout America's offices, whether professional or otherwise. And if you are allowing this, what the media is doing, if you are allowing all of this to occur, let's be clear. You better check yourself and figure out what's the rationale for your thoughts. Absolutely. You better figure out what's your rationale for the thought. I mean, it is important that we see that. I personally am not going to allow in my platform or any other platform that I'm working with to somehow judge Fani Willis's romantic relationship with Nathan Wade differently than any other types of relationships that occur constantly without somehow folks getting a bad reputation for it. Because you know what? They were both consenting adults and doing nothing wrong. Anybody who attempts to see it differently, you have to ask yourself why for Fani Willis it is such an interesting way of looking at it when Donald Trump, with all the baby mamas and his slutty behavior and sleeping with sluts and all that kind of stuff, why is that okay? And he still has the support of so many people that are upstanding. And you want to look at Fani Willis and somehow mess with her morality? Are you kidding me? That will not occur here. That will not occur. Fani Willis is a darn smart person. And that confounded judge, the only reason he probably didn't disqualify her, because he likely wanted to, is that he has to run in Fulton County for judgeship, and she's very popular in Fulton County. But when she got up there and line drive them, he called it not professional behavior. You know what? That was very professional. What was unprofessional was the attempt of what they had at allowing a criminal like Donald Trump to somehow impugn on this judge based on a fallacy of her being wrong with the romantic relationship that she had. So I'm going to tell you guys something, my brothers and my sisters. Don't be fooled, and don't allow them to put your eyes on another ball. That is how it works, and that is how we protect against that. That is how we protect against that. Anyhow, Bruce, yeah, if Donald Trump was really a billionaire and really owned all the properties that they say they own, remember Mike Cisak was trying to tell me a few months when I told him that Donald Trump has a little company. His company ain't all that big. His company doesn't have all that much, right? He's like, oh, Donald Trump owns a lot of the company. I said, no, he licensed a lot of his companies, and even the companies that he purports to own, it's really leveraged to kingdom come. And you know what? The same reason that New York got him for overpricing or over telling that something is worth more than it's worth, right, is exactly what's going to get him in trying to secure a bond. Because notice, over 30 bond companies said, yo-ho, no. If Donald Trump had as many assets as he said claimed to have had. Now let's talk to the people who know a little bit of numbers here. Come on. You know, a lot of guys think they know numbers, right? If Donald Trump owned as much as he claimed to have owned, right? Outright own, not just with his name on it and having a small interest in it. He would have no problems getting a $500 million bond. But the mere fact that the bond makers are saying, we ain't touching you. Your assets ain't worth crap. If you can't raise 500 million dollars on the supposed billions of dollars you have in assets, you ain't no billionaire, right? So Donald Trump, the fraud is coming out, and one hopes that the fraud comes out sooner than later. All right, let's see. Para ver, para ver, para ver. Um, let's see. Mike C, there is a character limit. So, okay. Politics done right with Egberto. So profits are evil. Profits are not evil at all. Just profits in healthcare is evil, but profits in general are not evil. All right. Lee Grant says MAGA plus Mensa. What a combination. No, 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 no. It's not MAGA plus Mensa. It's MAGA plus Mensa using MAGA. So it's MAGA, Mensa using MAGA. Okay. Remember that. Remember that. Good Egberto, don't give medicine to the dead. Exactly right, sister. Let's see. Para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver. Michael Rudnin from November 1. Not that I don't believe it. I don't understand what that is, Michael. I imagine there's something there. Shiva Las Vegas. Welcome to Politics Done Right. At the end of the day, one should not have intimate relationships with people you work with or people in your neighborhood. Oh, you're adding your neighborhood to that also? Wow. I mean, look, ideally she should refrain, but love sometimes supersedes, sometimes the heart. Anybody who believes in the heart, you can work with somebody and just fall heads over heels over them. And then after a while, you keep it quiet. Nobody knows about it. It's private, right? And again, if there's nothing, look, to put it bluntly, where do you think I met my wife? I met my wife on the job. Now, after we got married, I left about a year after that, and I took off to another job. No, actually, I left a few months after and took off to another job. But I didn't take off because we were married there, and we were a married couple there. I took off because the job, well, I wrote about that in my book. Anyway, let's see what else we have here. Gatlin Combo, welcome aboard. Para ver, para ver. And it gets messy, sweetie. I hear you. Yeah, like it did here, right? Melanie Keelan says it's live with some videos. Yes, I do live with videos that I do offhand to kind of mix things up. All right, Paul Fleming Sr. says questions to Republicans: when the crybaby loses again, are you okay with another insurrection, or are you okay with the overthrow of our government? Lee Grant says, Shiva Las Vegas, we used to say don't fish from the company pier. That's a good one, Lee Grant. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, let's see what else we got here. Employees always date each other. This was bad judgment, nothing more. Yeah. But the other, yeah, it was bad judgment to have let it happen, right? But let me ask you this. If you are if you're a romantic type, right? And you work with somebody and you're working with them for hours and you fall for each other, right? And it's genuine. Do you go ahead and say this is an important case, let's just quit? Or you try to keep it as quiet as you can by, I mean, not fudging it because they went out together. They weren't hiding when they went to Napa and all these places, but nobody's in the bedroom with them, right? So I get you. I agree that it was, I don't even want to say bad judgment, Breach. I don't even want to say bad judgment because if you believe in love, right? Hey, I don't know if I'll then call it bad judgment. But, we can differ on our beliefs on that. All right. Paul Plymouth said, I'm a part of a poker club, and I guess this gentleman must have seen our car, and he approached me, said, you know the Democrats want to take away our gas-powered vehicles. I first asked what person Democrats are just, I asked what person Democrats are just generally statement. He could give me the name. I said, well, I guess they'd have to knock on my door too, because I have 2 gas-powered vehicles. Oh, and by the way, I guess they'll be coming for my guns too. So you're a Democrat with guns and gasoline engines. Wow. I mean, I tell you, right-wing media make its listeners stupid. And I don't like to use that word. But it is just amazing. It is just amazing. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm scrolling. Whoa, got that. Let's see. All right. Shiva Las Vegas says, by the way, hello, sweetheart. Hi. I hope the sweetheart is me, Shiva. I hope so. But anyway, let me go ahead and play the last video of the day. If you want to see what it looks like, where even a Republican that one would look at as upstanding, after all, he voted to impeach the president, to convict the president of impeachment. But even this guy bends himself into pretzels to not speak too ill of Donald Trump. On all the questions asked him, the only one that he really went completely against Donald Trump is where Donald Trump is, if elected, would free all of the insurrectionists that's been convicted. But other than that, for every question, he tried to do a balanced approach. Unequal equivalences. What he tried to do is, false equivalences is what he did. But he made it clear that even the upstanding Republicans that remain in the party simply cannot speak out appropriately on Donald Trump. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
One of only 7 Republicans who voted to convict Donald Trump in his impeachment for attempting to overturn the 2020 election. Senator Cassidy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. I want to start by getting your reaction to Donald Trump's comments about a bloodbath. Do you think that those comments were appropriate?
Two things about that. The general tone of the speech is why many Americans continue to wonder, should President Trump be president? That kind of rhetoric, it's always on the edge, maybe doesn't cross, maybe does, depending upon your perspective. I also think, though, that the mainstream media contributes to it. If you take the one about the bloodbath, which arguably could be about an economic bloodbath, not about kind of street violence related to the election, then it gives his defenders something to focus on as something which was distorted. So, yes, he always walks up to the edge on that rhetoric. And again, that's why people are concerned. But sometimes the mainstream media, whether they want to or not, can't resist, and they go just a little bit too far, which distracts from what could be the impact.
And just to be very clear, you're saying it walks up to the line. Does that comment, even if in the context, that broader backdrop of talking about the auto industry, does it cross a line for you? You heard what the Biden administration said. They say it's another sign that he's using terms related to political violence.
Well, that's their perspective. They've got a candidate who also doesn't seem fit for office. But you could also look up at the definition of bloodbath, and it could be an economic disaster. And so if he's speaking about the auto industry in particular in Ohio, then you can take it a little bit more context. That's why I say you walk up to the line. Depending upon the perspective, somebody is going to interpret it. He's running against Biden, so Biden's going to say it's about political violence. His defenders want to defend him, and so they're going to say it's about economic disaster. There's always just that little bit of tension there, which allows a dispute about the interpretation as opposed to the kind of general sort of, is this the person we want to have in office?
And what about his comments that undocumented immigrants, not all of them, are people? What does it say about the Republican Party that the presumptive GOP nominee is using that kind of language, sending that message?
Let me say first, he was speaking about the possibility of criminals being among the immigrants. And those are the people he was saying may not be people, if you will. On the other hand, clearly the president's rhetoric has reflected poorly in terms of regarding folks who are coming here illegally, and they shouldn't be, but in a dehumanizing fashion. And that's why, again, many people continue to have reservations. And I say the best thing going for Donald Trump running for president is that he's running against Joe Biden, about whom many people also have reservations. And frankly, that's why people are considering third parties. So it's a sorry state of affairs.
Well, let me ask you about some recent comments he made about January 6th. He said on the first day of a second term, he would, quote, free those who've been charged and convicted with January 6th and committing crimes related to January 6th. Do you think that's appropriate, that people who've been convicted in many cases have pled guilty should be pardoned?
I do not think it's appropriate. We're a nation of laws, and those folks were convicted. Many times they pled guilty. If you plead guilty, i.e., obviously you're not a patriot, you're somebody who committed a criminal act. So I think that would be a wrong signal if you're the chief executive and you're responsible for enforcing the laws.
Senator, it's interesting. When you became one of those who voted to convict former President Trump in his second impeachment, you said, our Constitution and our country is more important than any one person. Do you believe that former President Trump would follow the Constitution in a second term?
Now, that is a hypothetical, which is hard for me to kind of go at. And frankly, Kristen, that's the kind of question that people ask, almost begging an answer. All I can say is that we have checks and balances within our system that if any one person attempts to act in an unconstitutional fashion, that they can be theoretically checked.
Now think about this. Think about this. Is this senator so naive? He said our institutions can hold. Our Supreme Court, one of our institutions, hadn't held. Our Congress hasn't held. The only possibility we have to hold, meaning to maintain our democracy, is not electing Donald Trump, because he has proven that the sycophants will follow. Whether they believe it or not, they will follow. And if you have somebody like Bill Cassidy here, even afraid to go too far in his disagreement with Trump, it says much. Folks, you better vote appropriately in November. Otherwise, it's on you. It's definitely on you. It's definitely on you. It's definitely on you. Anyway, let's see what we got here. I think I saw a good one from, let's see, they're Fulton themselves. By the way, Eric, I'm tired of telling you, there was no cheating here. The man, his wife cheated on him. He stayed together with his wife, not as an official marriage, but just so that the kids would have a nuclear family before they graduated, which is a very commendable thing, unlike what the guy that you love does, meaning Donald Trump, who just goes ahead and go from baby mama to baby mama to baby mama to baby mama. So, that's the reality. This guy is an honorable man. And if you listen to what Fani Willis speak about too, he's one of those old style brothers that, he is the man and he takes care of things. And just by him, even after his wife cheated on him, he stayed with the family. That's a family man, because he put the kids above and beyond. Why is it that our media, our media like to make, so people would do some good things and our media would start talking about, even though his wife, if it were a different person of a different hue, you would see him say something like, even though this is a good man, even though his wife cheated on him, in order to maintain a nuclear family, as in a nuclear family for the United States, he maintained the family structure so that his kids would have a stable home. If he were a different hue, I guarantee you that when they would qualify that he had a relationship with Fani, possibly when he was still not yet officially divorced, but they would have given it the tonality that said, he stayed with the family. But no, you want to create all the stereotypes. We look at Obama and his nuclear family, his staying with one woman, his doing things right. And then you look at Donald Trump, who is nothing more than the scourge of the earth. Somebody who, again, like I said, multiple women doing all these things, right? And somehow even the media gives him better treatment than they do a Barack Obama. I tell you, it is astounding to me how this stuff happens. I want to read Bridge MCP's piece. It's long, but I'm going to go real fast. As of mid-March 2024, Forbes estimates Trump's net worth was $2.6 billion, putting the real estate magnate developer at number 1,290 on magazine's list of world richest people. Although his wealth has dropped, the combined 88 million stemming from the Carl rulings represents a small fraction of his overall wealth. Even so, the 464 million judgment related to Trump's civil fraud case is straining his ability to find a financial institution that will consider a bond of that size, his attorney said on Monday. A bond requirement of this enormous magnitude, effectively requiring cash reserve approximately $1 billion, is unprecedented, the attorneys wrote in a nearly 5,000-page filing on Monday. You know why they made that thing 5,000 pages? Because it'll take the judge a long time to read 5,000 pages, which would create a long hold. Think about how these people work. You don't need 5,000 pages for that, but they're going to do that to get the guy reading 5,000 pages and put the system on hold. 5,000-page filing on Monday. Very few bonding companies will consider a bond of anything approaching that magnitude. They added, to be sure, Trump's real estate holdings are far more valuable than the bond amount, but a Trump organization executive wrote in Monday filing that surety companies are unwilling to accept real estate as collateral. Why would they be unwilling to accept real estate collateral if it far exceeds the bond? That is a lie. Okay, where does Trump's wealth come from? Trump's wealth's largest stems from real estate spanning residential buildings in New York City to golf courses and hotels around the world. According to Bloomberg, one of his largest assets is his $500 million stake in the 1290 Avenue of the Americas, an office building in Manhattan. Trump also has a $600 million in liquid assets, while his Trump National Doral Miami Golf Resort is worth about $300 million, Bloomberg said. So yeah, if he wants the money, she should just go ahead and sell one of his buildings. And he can choose which one he wants her to sell, or she can arbitrarily sell the one that gives her the money all at once in the easiest manner. Okay? All right, Billy MCP said, Berta, bad judgment because of circumstances of your workplace and the trial. Look, I can't argue with that. I guess I'm a little bit romantic in this regards, right? All right, let's see what else we got here. Of course, mi amor. Thank you, Shiva Las Vegas. All right, let's continue here. Farvet, economic bloodbath. No, he didn't say. If he wanted to say economic bloodbath, he would have said economic bloodbath. Okay, it was a bloodbath. The guy's a criminal and an insurrectionist, and he's inciting violence. Rudden says, so could we talk about how SUVs and light trucks hog the road, waste gas, and disproportionately cause more accidents? We could talk about how loopholes in government regulations that permit SUVs and light trucks to avoid vehicle fuel economy and safety standards, not just bikes, could make for a worthy follow-up, but this is one long-form video. Not sure you'll have the extra 40 minutes today. Why do you give me a 40-minute video? Actually, though, something like that I probably want to see. All right, let's see what else we got here. Where did you put that? That is in Facebook. All right. Coming down. Do I have any more videos? I think I exhausted all the videos. So I continue to go. Michael Rudden says, Mike C, yes, ignoring the truth. I take a moment to read articles when you link from a good source. Your turn. Go read something that might go against your own confirmation biases. Yeah, I mean, that's all they need to do because, look, I love Mike Cisak, but he has proven to be anathema to, allergic to facts, right? Allergic to new information, allergic to science-based info. I can't help that. I honestly can't help that. I want Mike Cisak here, but I wish he would learn how to learn. But, we can all eventually get there. That's all I'm going to say. We can all eventually get there. Egberto will send you the video link by FB message. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. All right, folks, we are coming close to the end of the show. I'm going to do my ask now because I have to run over to the hospital. My wife is back in. This time it seems like the shingles has affected her esophagus, so they're going to figure that out tomorrow. But this has been a horrendous case of shingles so far that's been very taxing. She's not doing, she's miserable. That's how she is, Breach. She's miserable, but all her vitals are good. But she's miserable. The shingles is just playing a horrendous number on her. And, she has lupus, and that probably compounds it. So I am heading over there now. But what I want to do is do our ask first. Please, folks, support the program. The only way we can continue doing this is with your support. Over the weekend, I sent out an ask on Substack to get more subscribers, and we got about, I think, 7 or 8 more subscribers. I need, before the end of the month, I was hoping to get a good 50, get us up to 100 and something, past that 100 century mark. So please consider becoming a subscriber of our newsletter. Look, first of all, it's like giving us a coffee, but it's more than that in that you get to read all the books that I write, right? And not only that, but subsequent books will be there for you to read as I'm writing others. But more than that, I'll have little gifts or perks, I shouldn't say gifts, perks for those people who decide to subscribe. So please go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to subscribe to our newsletter. It's free, but I ask those who can to just get a simple, basic subscription that gives you a coffee or so. I mean, that is equivalent to a coffee. You won't miss the coffee, but if we get enough people giving us coffees, we can do magic with what we're doing right now. As it is, 16-hour days now, but even today, I got to run to the hospital with my wife. I'll take the computer and get some videos calculated there as well. Look, the one thing about doing this work is that we can adjust, and not only we can adjust, but a lot of the things that I speak about, I am also living it. The healthcare system, I'm living it. What the healthcare did to my mother-in-law that died, I'm living it. How Ashley, even as a doctor, or a student getting her doctor's degree, and by the way, she did finish her medical school, even with 2 strokes. I need to make that. I'm very proud of my daughter. But here's the deal: we live all the things every American lives in this system that is broken. Healthcare, school, increase in interest rate, all the things that America lives through, we do as well. So I can talk about it. I can talk about solutions, etc. So please consider subscribing to our newsletter. There are many ways to also help the program, and all of them are defined at our link, politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. Click on that. It gives you a lot of different avenues in which you can support the program. politicsdoneright.com/support. It's in the feed right now. The other way, of course, is to go ahead and get my new book. And what is the book? It's called, for the new readers, I know there are a lot of folks on Twitter right now, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. It's a good book. Go to politicsdoneright.com/books, and you'll find that there, as well as all my other books. Again, but what I'm really hoping for is that many of you will sign on and become a paid subscriber of my newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. I thank you so kindly for being here. We couldn't do this without you. Una vez más. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.